Good morning, everyone. This is Dipanjali De, first year postgraduate student from the Department of Periodontology, and my topic for discussion today is influence of systemic conditions on the periodontium. The systemic conditions that will be discussed in detail include nutritional disorders, endocrine disorders, hematological disorders, disorders due to immunodeficiency, cardiovascular disorders, psychosomatic and other miscellaneous disorders, and their dental management and considerations. In the first installment of this presentation, I will be discussing the nutritional disorders in detail, that is, the ones caused by deficiencies in vitamin and protein intake. One of the most revealing recent discoveries about periodontitis is that among different individuals affected by the disease, the host response varies greatly, and either an inadequate or exaggerated host immune response can lead to more severe forms of the disease. In addition to this interrelationship, a number of factors can affect periodontal tissues and modify disease expression, such as environmental, physical, and psychosocial stress factors. These disorders do not themselves initiate chronic periodontitis, but they may predispose, accelerate, or otherwise increase its progression towards tissue destruction. These include nutritional disorders such as vitamin and protein disorders, endocrine disorders such as diabetes, hematological disorders such as leukemia and other blood dyscrasias, immunodeficiency disorders such as agranulocytosis, antibody deficiency disorders such as AIDS, cardiovascular disorders such as atherosclerosis, metal intoxication disorders such as those caused by lead or mercury, and psychosomatic disorders such as those caused by stress. Moving on to the nutritional disorders. Nutritional deficiencies produce changes in the oral cavity, such as alteration of the lips, oral mucosa, bone, as well as the periodontal tissue, which may be considered to be periodontal or oral manifestations of nutritional disease. These deficiencies do not by themselves cause gingivitis or periodontal pockets. However, they can affect the condition of the periodontium and thereby aggravate the injurious effects of local factors and excessive occlusal forces. Theoretically, it can be assumed that there may be a border zone in which local factors of insufficient severity can cause gingival and periodontal disorders if their effect on the periodontium is aggravated by such deficiencies. Moving on to the vitamins. Vitamin A, also known as retinol, is typically found in animal products such as eggs, meat, and fish. Its normal levels in the serum vary between 38 to 98 microgram per deciliter. It prevents the microbial invasion by maintaining the epithelial integrity, and its major function is to maintain the health of the epithelial cells of skin and mucous membrane. Deficiency of vitamin A may cause systemic changes such as nyctalopia or night blindness, xerophthalmia, hyperkeratosis of the skin, and growth and immune impairment. In the periodontium, it may cause changes such as hyperkeratosis, hyperplasia of the gingiva, increased pocket formation, proliferation of the junctional epithelium, retardation of wound healing, and squamous keratinizing metaplasia. These are some diagrams that show the signs and symptoms of vitamin A deficiency, such as gingival hyperplasia, follicular hyperkeratosis of the skin, and xerophthalmia. Moving on to vitamin D, known by its different names depending on the tissue site, it is also mostly found in animal sources such as meat and eggs. Its normal serum levels range from 25 to 50 nanogram per milliliter, and it is essential for the absorption of calcium from the gut and maintenance of the calcium phosphorus balance. Its deficiency or imbalance results in rickets in the very young and osteomalacia in adults. Signs of deficiency include osteoporosis of the alveolar bone, excessive accumulation of osteoid that remains uncalcified, reduction in the width of the periodontal ligament space, defective calcification of the cementum and its resorption, distortion of the growth of the alveolar bone. In osteomalacic individuals, we may see signs such as rapid generalized severe osteoclastic resorption of alveolar bone, proliferation of fibroblasts replacing bone and marrow, and new bone formation around the remnants of unresorbed bony trabeculae. Radiographically, several signs may be seen, such as partial to complete disappearance of the lamina dura, reduced density of the supporting bone, loss of trabeculae, increased radiolucency of the trabecular interstices, and increased prominence of the remaining trabeculae. These are certain signs of vitamin D deficiency, such as defective calcification of teeth, a radiograph showing rickets in which the pulp chambers are very large, and a diagram showing systemic changes such as curving of the bones, enlarged epiphysis, and kyphosis of the spine. Moving on to vitamin E, also known as tocopherol or anti-sterility factor, it is abundantly found in sources such as green leafy vegetables. It protects the cells from lipid peroxidation since it serves as an antioxidant to limit free radical reactions. Cell membranes, which contain the highest content of polyunsaturated fatty acids, are major sites of vitamin E deficiency. No direct relation has been found between its deficiency and oral disease. However, systemic vitamin E has been shown to accelerate gingival wound healing. Moving on to vitamin K, also known as phylloquinone, it is mostly found in green leafy vegetables and its serum levels range from 0.2 to 3.2 nanogram per milliliter. It is essential for the synthesis of blood and for the coagulation factors formed in the liver, maintaining bone strength and preventing arterial calcification. Since its deficiency leads to an imbalance of coagulation factors formed, it can cause symptoms such as bleeding of the submucosa and gingiva, both spontaneously and after trauma, along with ecchymosis of the buccal mucosa and palate, which are the typical oral manifestations. These are certain diagrams and pictures showing ecchymosis of the gingiva and palate due to vitamin E deficiency. Moving on to the vitamin B complex. The B complex consists of thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, pyridoxine, biotin, folic acid, and cobalamin. Manifestations of oral disease are rarely due to deficiency in one of these components. Usually, it is due to multiple deficiencies. Oral changes that are common to the B complex include gingivitis, glossitis, glossodynia, angulocheilitis, and inflammation of the mucosa. The gingivitis caused due to this is usually non-specific, caused by the plaque bacteria, but subjected to the modifying effect of the deficiency. Moving on to the individual vitamins. Thiamine or vitamin B1 is abundantly found in beef, liver, and nuts, and in whole blood, its reference range is 2.5 to 7.5 microgram per deciliter. The human manifestations of thiamine deficiency, called beriberi, are characterized by paralysis, cardiovascular symptoms, including edema and loss of appetite. Oral disturbances involve hypersensitivity of the oral mucosa, minute vesicles that simulate herpes on the buccal mucosa, under the tongue, or on the palate, and erosion of the oral mucosa. Moving on to riboflavin, which is found in eggs, nuts, and dairy. Its serum or plasma levels range from 4 to 24 microgram per deciliter. Arabofibrinosis includes glossitis, angulocheilitis, seborrheic dermatitis, and a superficial vascularizing keratitis. Candidiasis may also develop in the commissures of the lips of debilitated individuals. This lesion has been termed as perlachie. Moving on to niacin, which can be found in sources such as meat and poultry. Its deficiency results in pellagra, which is characterized by dermatitis, diarrhea, and dementia, gastrointestinal disturbances, glossitis, gingivitis, and generalized stomatitis. The gingiva may be involved in necrotizing ulcerative gingivitis, usually in areas of local irritation. Folic acid, also known as vitamin B9, mostly found in green leafy vegetables. Its plasma folate levels varies by age. In adults, it is 2 to 20 nanogram per milliliter. In children, 5 to 21 nanogram per milliliter. Its deficiency results in microcytic anemia with megaloblastic erythropoiesis accompanied by oral changes, gastrointestinal lesions, diarrhea, and intestinal malabsorption. Necrosis of the gingiva, the periodontal ligament, and the alveolar bone without inflammation is also observed. These are certain pictures showing the common symptoms of vitamin B complex deficiency, such as angulocheilitis, glossitis, and ulceration of the oral mucosa. Moving on to vitamin C, natural sources of vitamin C usually include citrus fruits such as oranges and lemons. Serum levels of less than 0.3 mg per deciliter indicate significant deficiency, while that above 0.6 mg per deciliter indicates sufficient intake. Severe vitamin C deficiency in humans results in scurvy, a disease that is characterized by hemorrhagic diathesis and delayed wound healing. Vitamin C deficiency is also characterized by increased capillary permeability, susceptibility to traumatic hemorrhages, hyperreactivity of the contractile elements of peripheral blood vessels, and the sluggishness of blood flow. Scurvy is usually seen in infants in the first year of their life. In alcoholics and mostly older individuals, it is not seen in individuals who are consuming a proper balanced diet. Clinical manifestations of scurvy include hemorrhagic lesions on the muscles of the extremities, the joints, and the nail beds, petechial hemorrhages, increased susceptibility to infections, bleeding and swollen gingiva, and loosened teeth. Vitamin C may aggravate the gingival response to plaque and worsen the edema enlargement, but gingivitis is not exactly caused by vitamin C deficiency. Acute vitamin C deficiency also results in edema, osteoporosis of the alveolar bone, tooth mobility, and degeneration of the collagen fibers in the gingiva. Since vitamin C is essential for the hydroxylation of proline to hydroxyproline, which is very important for collagen formation, ascorbic acid may play a role in periodontal disease through one of the more suggested mechanisms. Low levels of ascorbic acid influence the metabolism of collagen within the periodontium, thereby affecting the ability of the tissue to regenerate and repair itself. However, experiments on scorbutic monkeys have shown that the collagen in the periodontal tissues are the last to be affected before death, which refutes this fact. Ascorbic acid deficiency interferes with bone formation and leads to the loss of periodontal bone due to failure of the osteoblasts to form the osteoid. Deficiency increases the permeability of the oral mucosa to triated endotoxin and triated inulin of normal human clavicular epithelium to triated dextrin. An optimal level of ascorbic acid is required to maintain the integrity of periodontal microvasculature as well as the vascular response to bacterial plaque and wound healing. These are certain signs of vitamin C deficiency: bleeding gums, petechia and ecchymosis, hemorrhages, joint effusion, and anemia. Protein. Protein's deficiency may cause hyperproteinemia with many pathological changes that include muscular atrophy, weakness, weight loss, anemia, leukopenia, edema, impaired lactation, decreased resistance to infection, slow wound healing, lymphoid depletion, and reduced ability to form certain hormone and enzyme systems. The following periodontal manifestations have been observed in protein deprived animals: degeneration of the connective tissue of the gingiva and periodontal ligament, osteoporosis, impaired deposition of cementum, delayed wound healing, and atrophy of the tongue epithelium. Protein deficiency also accentuates the disruptive effects of bacterial plaque and occlusal trauma on the periodontal tissues, but the initiation of gingival inflammation and severity depends on the bacterial plaque. Protein deficiency is responsible for accentuating the destructive factors, but the prime cause behind periodontal disease is mainly the bacterial plaque. Periodontal tissues that are deficient in protein lack integrity and are more vulnerable and susceptible to breakdown when a bacterial challenge is presented to them. This concludes the first part of my seminar. In the next part, I will be discussing the endodontic disorders such as diabetes and hyperparathyroidism. Thank you.